Well, I took another one at, I'll say at random, S0968. And of course, as I do so, I hope earnestly that God will direct me as He knows best. So you might look at S0968. Reciprocity. Alright, it's spelled in my phonetic alphabet, but 968 will do. Sorry, S0968 will do. It starts a bit negatively. Well, we all do, don't we, as kids? We're a bit random, we're a bit unorganized, not mature yet. And recording's less than 20 minutes, isn't it? And it gets there. Yep. It's a blessing. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. My little friend, who is in fact my daughter's friend, and he's a year younger than her, and I pick him up from school each day, take him to his home, take him home to Mum and her partner there. I have the delight of knowing I am a blessing to them. And he talks to me. He's a chatterbox. He's a chaotic young boy in some ways, but very bright. He's a lovely boy, really. He talks to me about, because he's into gaming and the games they play. Try and think what they're called. But talking about reincarnation he was yesterday. It wasn't me stimulating it, I just listened and, made comments where it was helpful. Then he was talking about his trouble with his anger. He gets very angry and annoyed about things. It was lovely. I was able to say to him, well, just being aware of such and that you don't like this, well, I didn't say predisposition, but this tendency to do so, be angry. We'll weigh against it and you'll find it starts to clear the more you don't want it to happen. And when anger arises, you'll say to yourself, oh, anger again. Don't want that. Don't want anything to do with it. And you'll find it dries up. It solves itself. I'm thinking, of course, by the grace of God. He talked to his dad and how his dad, he's in a severely unhappy situation at the minute and probably will be for a while. And my young friend tells me of how he's not able to tolerate being with his dad too long. And in a sense he's upset about this, but can't do anything about it in a way. He just longs to be playing on his device, whatever it is, phone or gaming console. He's a lovely chap, you see, my little friend. He's learning to cope with his childhood, his lacks and his inabilities. And he's aware, he's conscious of what he would rather things be like. You see, he's a child of God. It's what's absolutely wonderful about children, isn't it? You can feel Rudolf Steiner's compassion for life, especially kids. You know, he's founder of Steiner schools, German, 1920s, he was lecturing. Educational ideas way beyond even our present age. Wonderful compassion and creative insight. It's a good school. My girl and her friend go to this school, you see. I was on the board for a little while. I don't think I was of much benefit really, except I was an encouragement, of course. That was my main purpose. And that was good. They obviously don't need me now. They haven't asked me to be there again. I was on for a few years, I suppose. Yeah. You can find your world to be an incredibly lovely place when you become sensitive to, empathetic with, understanding of, sympathetic with, sympathetic to life around you, its needs. And you, quite simply in your wisdom, can be the greatest blessing, a help, a guidance, a counsellor. And I do mean counsellor, I don't mean just listening. I do listen a great deal now. I'm improving, believe it or not. You only hear me talking, don't you? But I am listening more and more. But it's not just listening, you know. It's the kindness of giving what you truly think in your heart will help and be a blessing. Where you see opportunity and where you find there are ears to hear. And when there isn't, well, you just hang in there and wait for opportunity. And God creates it. I mean, I just give this little chap a lift home each afternoon, 3 o'clock. And I want to be a blessing to him. And the joy is when I find that I am. Just lovely. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Thank you so much too that you just love us. All of us. We're your children. And in our childishness, you could say, in our innocence, which is a purity, we are your glory by your grace and kindness. Love you, Dad. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. So as I understand it, if I can only encourage people towards gratitude, thankfulness, it will transform their life into joy, into peace, into hope, into assurance, into compassion, into insight, wisdom and understanding, creativity. Every blessing in the book every spiritual quality that furnishes them for life eternal, the loveliness of fellowship with our Heavenly Dad and all the host of heaven forever. Thank you, Dad. Yeah, when I say he's my daughter's friend, I mean he's only 10 years old. And I mean, when I say he's bright, I mean he was telling me about Gilgamesh, which you may have never heard of, but it's a Persian, well, it's a myth, a creation myth and so on, you know. And he knows it because he's at a Steiner school, which teaches culture, a wide span of culture, historically, I mean, mythologically, I mean. Steiner's into the child needs nourishment as regards their imagination. If they're to live a happy life of creativity, if you can't imagine that which is better, how can you work towards it? You see, you're handicapped from the start, aren't you? Yeah, I mean, a 10-year-old talking about this ancient myth, Gilgamesh. And I mean, he knows a lot of the detail. And just think, my goodness, it's like talking to a baby Plato here. You know, a philosopher. He knows I'm religious. Oh, he's an amazing boy. I don't know what it was, but he suddenly says to me, I mean, I know this is flattering to me, but let me just say it for a moment. I want to, that's why. He says, why are you so humble and peaceful? It comes out the blue, and he'd only been in the car a minute or two. And I was bowled over by this. I mean, I'm not a very humble person. And, well, my life has been anything but peaceful at times in the past, more distant past, but, you know. It certainly hasn't been that peaceful around me at times in the present. But I just thought, I told him, I said, that's one of the loveliest things I've ever been told. He seemed to say it because I'm, in his view, never perturbed about anything. I don't get angry, well, I guess I don't come back badly in some way. And he's used to kids and adults to some extent being like that, of course. That's what the world is, a great teaching situation, isn't it? I mean, both attributes, humble and peaceful, I mean, in a sense, are so foreign to me. It's foreign to my consciousness that I actually couldn't quite remember what he said for a while. Apart from the humble one, because I thought, well, that's really inappropriate. I'm not a humble individual. And of course, he may not have said what he feels quite right. But by the grace of God, I think he's picked up something of my godly intent. Now you see, I'm not humble, I'm quite arrogant, aren't I? But I can see how he thought it was peaceful, because by the grace of God, anger seems to have passed from me to a great extent. It's a bit like being an alcoholic, though. You don't want to be complacent and say you've been you've been healed of it. It's an idea to remember that you can still be ravaged by anger if you're not careful. You're not aware of the cost of such. Love you, Heavenly Dad. So do you see each day can become a blessing? The simple, ordinary day that you're living can become such a blessing when you fill your time with thankfulness. Wherever you get a peaceful moment, say thank you, God, for this advantage, this gain, this blessing, this coincidence, this provision. Might be just ongoing things like your health or your home, perhaps your family in some way, perhaps your job in some way, perhaps your standard of living compared to so many others, perhaps being human compared to being in the frightening situation of the wild of nature, where you are always at risk, always potentially in danger. Yeah, thankfulness, thankfulness, thankfulness. It's the keys to the kingdom of heaven. But you must use it. You must turn the keys in the lock. And it unlocks your life from the oppression of immaturity to a wonderful awareness, to knowing God. This is life eternal, to know Thee, the only true God. Bless you. And you are blessed. You're a child of God, and He loves you. That's really all that matters. The rest takes care of itself. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Oh goodness, listening to this again, I realise I must say, I was able to say to him, him saying, oh, you're a humble and peaceful person, why is that? I was actually able to say, well, no, it's not that, it's that it's much easier if you believe in God and trust in God. I wasn't able really to say anything more than that, really, because, goodness, he's only 10. But in some sense, I wanted to point out that what he sees as a value is very much within his grasp. What is this gain by believing in God as opposed to not? Well, it depends on your God, of course. Some gods are so frightening it could wreck your life. But if it's a God that loves you and is all-powerful, but loves you as their child, oh, well, that would be quite a blessing if that existed. And the more you start to feel this is so, of course, I didn't go into all this, but you know it, because I've, given this view before, the more thankful you are. It transforms you. Just the thankfulness. because the gratitude wells up in you. And you're filled with hope, seeing that which is good and lovely. You start to become more and more trusting, you see. Faith is not something you can turn on, but awareness of the good around you is. And that awareness by whatsoever is good and lovely, thinking on these things, well, you get far more hopeful about your environment, far more appreciative, joyful, happy about. Do you see you start to gain precisely what you need for a transformed, happy, eternal life, life abundant? It's incredibly simple. 10-year-old can do it. Certainly. I did at something like 12. I decided I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to be suicidal like Mum. I'm not going to think of poltergeists and all these claustrophobia and all these things. I'm just not going to. It's not doing her any good. I don't think of such things until, she chats about them, and then I don't feel good either. There isn't some greatness in the tragedy of being suicidal. Just unhappiness. I'm not going that way. I'm going to be happy. As I say, I would look in the gardens on the way to school and just say, aren't they lovely? I had no conception of God. Well, hardly any, if you know what I mean. But I knew how to be happy, and I chose it. And I got the nickname Happy at school. Yeah. I think that was my takeoff, because it's subsequent to that that I suddenly start to find ways of passing tests and examinations. Of course, I decided I was going to like the most difficult teachers, not just the good ones, not just the nice, kind ones. And this had a transforming effect on my relationship with them. And of course that gave me great encouragement to study. Chain reaction, look down the sequence. He becomes a lecturer. From a secondary school. Wow. Thank you, Dad.